that's a sunrise. Very beautiful. One would even say majestic. Heading into Texas City, a town where fireworks are prohibited. Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here. It's my second channel, daily vlog channel. Today's video is going to be on a little bit more serious note than normal. It's the Daily Woo. In the 1940s, this became the location of the worst industrial accident in history. There are lots of factories here and lots of ways to transport goods to different areas from those factories, including by boat. And that's where the Port of Texas City comes in. It happened on April 16th, 1947, a day this area will surely never forget. Obviously, I cannot get inside the actual port because of security reasons, but I can show you what happened. Just right over there was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. It started upon a ship by the name of the SS Grand Camp, who was hauling well over 2,000 tons of ammonium nitrate, the same chemical that was used in the Oklahoma City bombing years and years later. What the local town folk did not know when they were watching the fire that was supposedly started by a cigarette is that the ship was going to explode. And it did. It ignited 2 other ships and a bunch of oil refineries, creating an explosion of immense proportions. In all, there were over 581 people who perished, mostly including all but one person of the fire department who was putting out the blaze. The rest were mostly people from town that were curious to see what was going on, that came down to the shoreline, and they certainly were not expecting that. Over 1,000 buildings were destroyed, as well as 2 airplanes that were flying overhead were taken from the sky. One of the 2 cargo ships on site was called the High Flyer. The explosion happened about a mile that way, and here is that ship's propeller. It flew this far, dedicated in memory of those who died and in honor of those who survived to make Texas City a safer and better place in which to live and to work. Just to give you a perspective of how large this really is, it's like 3 or 4 of me. Man, that's big. And a little farther down the road, about a block or 2 from the propeller, is this anchor from the ship that started the fire. And keep this in mind, I was just reading that placard. This thing weighs 10,000 pounds. That's 5 tons. Wrap your head around that. To way past that factory, thrown and now located here. I have arrived now at the Memorial Cemetery here in town. Started the same year as when the explosion was. And it is also the location of the anchor thrown the farthest. This one, 1.62 miles. Here is a photo before the accident of the port. And down here is one of the last photos taken of the firemen who lost their lives shortly before it exploded. It was only a few minutes later when tragedy struck. Incredible how powerful that was. The cars in the parking lot, the charred remains of them. And 10 to 12 miles away in Galveston, that was their view. Wow, it created a 15-foot tidal wave that crashed onto the dock and flooded the surrounding areas. Windows were shattered in Houston, 40 miles north. And people 250 miles away in Louisiana even felt the shock. This is an after shot of every building just leveled and one of the ships completely completely ripped in half. There was no public cemetery in Texas City in 1947. A burial committee appointed by local officials used donated funds to purchase this 2-acre tract of land and made plans to bury the unidentified victims on Sunday, June 22nd. On the property sits the statue, simply titled Grief, just one word to sum up the thoughts I'm sure everyone was feeling around that time frame, and probably still are feeling. Hard to imagine something of that proportion happening to your little town. This sums it up pretty perfectly. This fountain was created to honor the firemen who served that day. There were 63 people who were unidentified, and right past that sidewalk, right on that mound, is where their final resting place is. This might be the first time that I've ever been to what is designated a cemetery that does not have the traditional graves and regular headstones like you would see. This might be a first for me.